Tilder!
What is this? This is the Digitalfoto Chameleon 4 RGB tubes. How much does it cost? Anywhere from $200 to $300 depending on if you get the 2 feet or 4 feet version. Approximately 2 hours of battery life on any mode. There's a bicolored mode. It has lighting effects. Do I recommend it? If you're looking to add a unique lighting kit to your existing principal kit that's extremely versatile for narrative filmmaking, talking heads, or even a portable green screen like this, then definitely yes.
Done. Roll that intro.
What's going on, everybody? You're watching Too Long Didn't Read Filmmaker, where the answers comes first, the reasons come last, but we're constantly and always still learning. Today, we're going to find out whether or not the Digitalfoto Chameleon 4 LED tubes, they're actually RGB and bicolor, is going to be the right solution for you and your overall filmmaking kit. And I want to thank Digitalfoto for sending this out to me so I can provide you with my review today. Now, they actually sent me 2 of these units because they wanted to see could I actually use it on a feature film set. And yes, I did use it, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it towards the bottom line in terms of how many different ways can you use this. So, coming in out of the box, if you're going to get the 4-foot tube, it comes in almost at $300, just shy of it, but they do have a 2-foot version, 2 feet version, that's approximately $210. Now, these are RGB capable as well as bicolor, and they do have some special lighting effects should you need to use it. In terms of its built-in battery life, I tested it to basically provide 2 hours of battery, no matter which mode you're in. So whether or not you're using all the tungsten LEDs, all the daylight LEDs, mixing them at 3200K or 5600K, the RGBs, cycling through the RGB effects, it pretty much gave you approximately 2 hours, which is nice. Now, you can charge this with a DC barrel plug that's over here, and basically it's 15 volts. Now, I kind of wish that they actually gave you a 12-volt operation, and then it does the conversion inside the LED tube. Because if they did that, we could use something like an LED 12-volt battery pack up to 3 amps, I think, or maybe even up to 6 amps, depending on which battery you want. And that would essentially be able to charge this thing, or basically use it with battery power, extended battery power when you're on set, because sometimes you might not actually have AC power to convert it. So this is doable. If you want to work with a DC converter, you could probably make it happen. It's actually quite simple. So I might actually make some of these for my own personal use. So with all that out of the way, let's get to the light quality tests. In terms of the overall light output in bicolored mode, we see that the lux readings are fairly similar. It doesn't matter if you're in tungsten or daylight LEDs, which is actually quite nice as you're trying to expose for your scene. Here are the RGB lux readings at 2.8 on a GH5, and it pretty much depends on what color you're actually at, because some colors are going to register much brighter than others. Next, let's take a look at the color quality with the color checker chart and the vector scopes. If you're at 3200K, your skin tone chips and the red chips are going to go towards yellow. But if you're in 5600K, the skin tone chips actually pretty much line up on the line, and the rest of the colors do quite well as well. There's an interesting set of numbers here from -5 to +5, and essentially what this does is it allows you to kind of tint the overall color that you're on. Now, it doesn't go between green and magenta per se to try to match other lights, rather it goes between yellow and blue. So this might be helpful to a certain degree, but it would have been nice if we could go between green and magenta, as we can match other different types of LED lights. Now, this is all good and dandy, but let me show you some practical examples of how you can use these lights in different situations. So like I said, Digitalfoto sent me 2 of these to see if I could use them on the feature film that I'm currently working on as one of the secondary DPs. So this past weekend, we were shooting in a church, a local church, and it's an action sequence. And this is one of the reality style moments. So basically, we're not doing crazy heavy lighting. So I played with the lights that were up above and then lifted up all the curtains to see if we can get some extra light coming from outside. Unfortunately, it was raining that day, so we really didn't get a whole lot of natural light. Oh well. Basically, when I looked at the shot, it just looked, what you would expect if you were just, I don't know, shooting inside of a church. It didn't really give you anything extra. But I did notice that there was a purple cloth placed all around the place. So I was like, okay, maybe we should emulate that and kind of flood it up against the wall. There's the cross, there's some walls towards the sides. So that's what we did. We used basically a purple color, and only at about 50%, depending on which RGB color you're using. Reds is usually the lowest, but purple was definitely up there. So at about 50%, we were able to give some accent lighting up against the walls and therefore kind of give a more complete look instead of just boring white walls. So that's one way we were using it for feature films, but let's say you're going to use it in different cases. In which case, there's two ways you can orient this if you're going to use it as a key light. If you do it vertically like this light is approximately 3.5 to 4 feet away. If it's vertical, it's going to cast a pretty harsh shadow, and I'm sitting about 2 feet away from the wall for this example. And this makes sense because the light is basically a column pole, so therefore it's just going to make your shadow that much more drastic. However, if you mount the light in a horizontal configuration, that shadow suddenly disappears because now you're casting a much wider type of light at your subject, and therefore you're going to be able to eliminate that shadow. Now, if you're doing something like an interview and you want to give the background something that's not a white wall, depending on where you were shooting, well, if you place that 4-foot LED tube behind the person angled at such a way, you can start blasting some sort of color or maybe an opposition color or what have you to give this a little bit more life. And if you want to, you can use a very cheap small LED panel, pocket RGB, what have you, and basically give yourself a little hair light like this. In terms of other ways you could use it, let's say you want to do a very quick portable green screen or blue screen. So basically place your subject up against a wall or pretty close to one, set everything up in the vertical configuration, and then blast the color towards the wall, and therefore you have yourself a makeshift blue or green screen. And of course, if you do have a traditional green screen, then go ahead and change it to the daylight or tungsten mode and shoot it that way against your green screen backdrop. So what's the bottom line here? Is the Digitalfoto Chameleon 4 LED tubes something that I would recommend to you for your overall filmmaking kit? And I have to say it's a definite yes, but you need to make sure you have some sort of a basic lighting kit already built up before you use these lights, because coming in at $300 some for a 4-foot LED tube that pumps out approximately 50 some watts in the bicolor mode and about 28 watts in the RGB mode, it's not the most powerful LED out there. And basically something like a cheap LED panel like the newer 660s coming in at approximately $180 some for the RGB version, that's going to already do a decent amount of what this thing can do. It's not as bright, but it's definitely cheaper. And you're probably also going to need something like a Cobb single source LED like the Godox UL150 that I reviewed not too long ago, so that you have a very strong light that can accept modifiers, so you can have a nice easy way to key light your subject in different situations. So once you have all that stuff, then you can start looking at these RGB LED tubes, because this is actually technically the cheaper out of the bunch. There's stuff made from Nanlite, Nanguang, or Quasar Science, and there's another one called Alistar, I think. I can't remember, but there's a bunch of other LED tubes out there that are easily twice this price. So coming in at $300 for a 4-foot version with RGB and effects and how well it performs in terms of its light output, it's actually not that bad, but it is more of a specialty lighting tool. So like I showed earlier, it's something that I used to accent light into a scene to make sure the walls don't look boring. But if you already know how you're going to use this, whether it's inside your own YouTube studio, or maybe you do a lot of corporate stuff and you're always in a dark room to start and you have to bring all these lighting stands, lighting modifiers, and all these other things just to get the look you want. But having a set of 3 of these can basically give you a nice soft key light and then maybe a hair light, a background light for accent light, what have you. Maybe this might actually be the easier way to go to lower the amount of stuff you need to bring with you for these types of shoots. So anyways, in my opinion, these are a lot of fun to use, and I definitely look forward to using more. And once I start getting some more ideas of how I would light certain things, I'll probably make a video of, like, I don't know, the top 5 or top 10 ways you can use LED tubes featuring these LED tubes. So Anyways, guys, that is it for this week. If this video has made all the influence in your purchasing decisions, I would truly appreciate it if you check out my Amazon affiliate links down below. Again, this costs nothing extra to you. It just gives me a little compensation so I can continue making videos like this for you. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave it down below. I will get to them as fast as I can. And until then, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you guys in the next one.